let's listen to Pierre Poilievre talking about the threat of Trump tariffs on Canada. Go ahead.
In fact, our per capita GDP has dropped more than any other G7 country since the year before COVID. We have the most indebted households. We've had the worst housing inflation. A quarter of our people are in poverty. 2 million people line up in food banks. Food prices have risen 37% faster in Canada than in the United States of America. Our economy is teetering on the brink of collapse. And now we face this renewed threat. We need a plan to put Canada first on the economy and on security.
Okay, so he's talking about Canada first. He was later pressed on the potential for retaliatory tariffs. Let's retaliate against the Americans. Could you see it coming to that, Professor?
I hope not. I deeply hope not for Canada. There's this mythology in Canada. I'm reading it. And lots of Canadians are saying, oh, we're going to stand up to those Americans. We're going to punch them in the face, and they're going to cry and scream in pain. Good God in heaven. Can anybody count? Does anybody know arithmetic anymore? The U.S. is $25 trillion. We are $2.5 trillion. We are a gnat, a mosquito on the back of the elephant. I know lots of Canadians don't want to hear that because they want to hear that we're just as big and tough as the Americans. And that's braggadocio. It's teenage male braggadocio. Okay? It is. It's nonsense on stilts. I want to quote Taylor Swift. And I'm not a fan. I mean, I'm a fan of hers only for one reason, because my granddaughters love her, so therefore I love, I am too. Even though I don't listen to her music. But she's got one great song, I think. She's got many great songs, but she's got one I really like. It's called Shake It Off. Anything we do to the Americans, anything we do to the Americans, they'll just shake it off. They're so huge. They're so enormous. Did you know that the American government spends almost 3 times the GDP of Canada? They spend $8 trillion. Our GDP is $2.5 trillion. That's the government. And that's just the U.S. government. They're so large that anyone who thinks that we can bring the Americans to their knees, little mosquito on the back of elephant, 2-ton elephant, we are living in an alternate, delusional world.
Okay.
Ain't gonna happen.
Let me ask you this. We only have about a minute or so left. Why would Trump want tariffs? I mean, surely to goodness he knows that would mean higher costs for Americans. I'm sure someone has explained this to him, and it doesn't. Okay, go ahead.
I will. I'll explain very quickly. First off, of course, it's going to cost some small number of businesses in the United States. It'll cost more. No question about it. So all they'll do, guess what they'll do? Because the price of the tariffs is proven the product up. Well, they'll turn around those companies that are buying Canadian stuff and say, well, I'm going to find a supplier in the States, which is what Trump wants, by the way. He's trying to bring home business back to America. So he's trying to force, without legislating it per se, saying you may not buy from Canadians, he's making it so costly that the buyers on the American side, the companies that buy the stuff from Canada, they'll go and find it either from American producers inside the States or from some other country that exports to the States that isn't subject to the tariffs. Okay, so the idea that it's going to hurt the Americans in any macroscopic way or major way is delusional. It'll hurt a few businesses in a few parts, and maybe a couple of them will go bankrupt. Big deal. The U.S. is so enormous, you won't even notice it. It won't even show up on the GDP numbers. So what I'm saying is he's trying to change and secondly, I believe he's trying to change the behavior. I don't think he's trying to bring Canada down to its knees. I don't believe he's trying to destroy Canada. What he's trying to do is say, you have done things to discriminate against our American companies for many, many years, and I've had it, and it's over. You're not going to free ride on us anymore for our security. We pay all the bills, and you get the benefit of the security protection. You're going to pay that 2%, or we're going to cut you off to access to our economy that everybody in the world wants access to. And you're going to stop discriminating against American phone companies and banks and dairy, because if you don't, we're going to cut you off. Did you everybody get that? Capiche, everybody? That's all he's saying. I'm not here to defend him. It's just what he's saying is so obvious. It's so transparent. And we are so thick, we don't get it. We don't understand what he's saying to us. Change, or you will not get access to our economy anymore. Got it?
Gotta go.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.